Part 4, I'm going to speak about the Administrative Procedures Act, which is also mentioned in the FDA Final Rule. Actually, they reference that many times in the FDA Final Rule. And it comes under this Administrative Procedures Act, Title V, Government Organization and Employees, Administrative Procedures Act, Part 1, the agencies generally, Chapter 5, Subchapter 2, Administrative Procedure, and then I'll speak to what I wrote down in regards to the FDA Final Rule. So in 553, let me get that right. In 553E rulemaking, each agency shall give an interested person the right to petition for the insurance amendment or repeal of a rule. So what that means is, if a person, it could be a vape shop owner, it could be e-cigarette, e-liquid manufacturer owner, hardware manufacturer owner, could be software manufacturer owner, they can actually, if they wanted to, individually, they can actually appeal any kind of agency decision like the FDA Final Rule. That's one way to go about it. Then the next section is 702, right of review. A person suffering legal wrong because of agency action or adversely affected or grieved by agency action within the meaning of a relevant statute is entitled to judicial review thereof. So, once again, those particular entities that I mentioned can actually ask for a review by a judge. It's actually administrative law judge. It can eventually be appealed into the U.S. District Courts, but first it has to go through the administrative law judge first. 704, actions reviewable. Agency action made reviewable by statute and final agency action for which there is no other adequate remedy in a court are subject to judicial review. So that is, based upon whatever statute that you're dealing with, you might not be able to take it right into a United States District Court. Instead, you have to go before an administrative law judge, and then you can appeal it into the U.S. District Court. 706, scope of review. The reviewing court shall, 1. Compel agency action unlawfully withheld or unreasonably delayed, and 2. Hold unlawful and set aside agency action findings and conclusions found to be A. arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with law, B. contrary to constitutional right, power, privilege, or immunity, C. in excess of statutory jurisdiction, authority, or limitations, or short of statutory right, D. without observance of procedure required by law, E. unsupported by substantial evidence. Now, like I said, you could go before the administrative law judge, and that's usually how it goes, or you could go right into the U.S. District Court, depending upon how you write your complaint. Like, for instance, Nicopure could have went through that process with the administrative law judge, but they decided, because of the constitutionality of their lawsuit or the constitutionality of the FDA Final Rule, they put it right into the United States District Court, because they mainly, eventually, especially when it gets into the appellate courts, they will review it in terms of constitutionality. So that's the reason why they filed in the United States District Court, because of the constitutionality. But if an interested person is interested to file a complaint within the, or I should say against the FDA administration, or the Food and Drug Administration, they could certainly go through the administrative process, and that is go before an administrative law judge. And then you can have a rehearing on it if it goes against you, and then after that, then it can actually go into the U.S. District Courts. So that is basically, and these particular sections that I spoke of, or actually spoke of in the FDA final rule. So I just wanted to give you a tiny little bit of an overview of what the Administrative Procedures Act is. And that is, if an agency abuses their discretion, you can certainly go and have judicial review and or end up in a United States District Court. So this is actually an act of Congress. And what it does is mainly manages and controls agencies, federal agencies like the FDA. And so that's it for this one. Bye.